Hello, I'm Kevin Blanchette, founder of WorkSmart Academy. This is one of 52 modules that I present for members of WorkSmart Academy. The modules can run from about 10 to 30 minutes in duration. We always finish up with a review, and I like to include a skill builder portion into the presentation. That way you can go to work right away, implementing your learning within your business. You will find that the first several modules are designed to help you build a foundation for your business. Today, we are looking at developing key performance indicators. It has been my experience that properly developed key performance indicators, often referred to as KPIs, provide you and your team with clear goals and objectives, coupled with an understanding of how they relate to the overall success of your business. Published internally and regularly reviewed, they will also strengthen shared values and create common goals. So what is a key performance indicator? Key performance indicators provide a series of measures against which you and others can judge your business and how it is likely to perform over the medium and long term. Unfortunately, the term KPI has become overused and quickly become misunderstood in the context of business development and management. KPIs are often confused with metrics, thereby suggesting that if you can measure it, then it must be a KPI. This confusion and resulting action has served to water down the true value of core KPIs in your business. Let's look at the key components of a KPI. The KPI should be seen as only key when it is of fundamental importance in gaining competitive advantage and is a make or break component in the success or the failure of your business. An example is staff turnover. It is an important metric to track, but generally not one that is a make or break element in the success or failure of your business. Let's look at performance. A measure is only relating to performance when it can be clearly measured, quantified, and influenced by your company. For example, traffic can have a significant impact on a retail operation and can influence how many patrons visit your store. But often, your company simply cannot influence traffic. Now let's look at indicator. It is only an indicator if it provides leading information on future performance. Lots of data amassed by your company only has value for historical purposes. Examples being receivables and inventory turn. By contrast, rates of new product and service development are excellent leading edge information. Let's move to benchmarks. It's not advisable to set KPIs without first having a clear understanding of what is possible. You must set upper and lower limits of the KPI in reference to the market and your competition, which means that an understanding of benchmarks is essential to making your KPIs useful and specific to your business. Benchmarks put the level of current performance in context, both for startups and established businesses, though they tend to be more important for the established business. Benchmarking also allows you to check in to see what other successful companies see as critical in building and maintaining a competitive advantage. Now let's have a look at what you need to measure and monitor. There are three general areas or knowledge centers within a typical business that I focus on: administration, finance, and contingency planning. When you really look at it, there are literally scores of different areas to focus on within these three centers. I strongly recommend that you establish a set of business monitoring modules that are representative of your business. It is very important to differentiate the things that you monitor and the areas that you review, and then build your KPIs around them. They are different. In fact, if you're a medium-sized business and you're already established, maybe you're 2 to 3 years old, you may have 80 monitoring elements. However, you will likely have 3 to 5 elements with KPIs. You simply cannot do an effective job managing 80 KPIs, and it's unlikely that you would have 80 relevant KPIs anyways. For each area you are monitoring, you will establish what the current level of the performance is in a measurable and understandable way. That is what we mean by current performance. Then you will utilize industry sources to establish the benchmark levels for your business. There are a few different sources for accessing the benchmarks for your sector. Establishing appropriate benchmarks will be more challenging for true niche businesses. You will then analyze your current results, establish benchmarks, and set targets that you want to achieve within your business. Let's now look at an example of a set of finance monitoring modules for an established manufacturing company. Here's a select group of financial ratios. Current ratio, Z-score, which is a ratio of liquidity, gross profit by percent, net profit by percent, accounts receivable, debt to equity ratio, and the return on capital employed. We can gain a great deal of information and control from this chart. However, not all of the components meet the criteria of being a KPI. If they did, we would slide back into the issue of trying to measure everything and failing to concentrate on a limited number of core criteria. A definitive list of KPIs will depend on individual decisions and will vary considerably according to the stage of your company development. For example, startups need to place their emphasis on structural or foundational factors, whereas an established business will focus on operational performance. You need to set some guidelines. The most efficient way to determine and establish your KPIs is to work through the three criteria in sequence. The first one is the control information key to the success of the company? Can we measure it and influence it? And the last one is, does it provide leading edge indications of future developments? So again, let's look at that chart referencing the financial metrics. Looking at the chart, which measures are key? Based on our criteria, the three critical measures I would set up as KPIs, within the Finance Center at least, would be gross profit, return on capital employed, and the Z-score. Let's look closer. Gross profit is one key measure to the success of the company. Much evidence demonstrates that survival rates of companies are linked to the levels of gross profit. Gross profit margins above that of the competition provide clear evidence of a competitive advantage. Return on capital employed. Return on capital employed is another key measure for your company. The ability to use investment effectively is critical to sustained long-term development. The Z-score. This is a measure of liquidity for your company and clearly defines positive or negative trends. So you recall there were several other factors or measures or metrics within that chart. I suggested the other components of the chart are not key. They are valuable pieces of information, but they are not critical aspects of company management. So looking at the three that we've just reviewed, gross profit margin, return on capital, and the Z-score, are these performance measures, and can we quantify them? Sure we can. Do these provide leading edge indications of future performance? Yes, they do. The conclusion from the analysis is that in financial reporting, the company should concentrate on gross profit, return on capital employed, and Z-score as their key performance indicators. You will also want to undertake a similar review for both your administration and your contingency centers. You will recall that I referenced three key contingency centers for KPIs. One of the most valuable contributions that KPI analysis can deliver is an understanding of the true nature of your competitive environment. A strong and relevant set of KPIs and benchmarks will lead to a clear picture on the required priorities for change. And KPIs can be central to a number of other elements in your planning, which also serve to answer the three crucial planning questions, which are: where are we? Where do we want to be? And when? And how are we going to get there cost effectively? As I said, I always like to include a skill builder in these presentations. That way you can take your learning and employ it in your business immediately. It gives you further opportunity to understand how to use these KPIs directly in your own business. Let's use a pharmaceutical medicine manufacturer as an example for this skill builder. We're going to establish a set of KPIs focused on administration, finance, and contingency planning. Remember, when we're talking about KPIs, we are looking at the following criteria to establish our KPIs. Is the control information key to the success of the company? Can we measure it, and can we influence it? And lastly, does it provide leading-edge indications of future developments? You will want to set up your KPIs so that you can begin to monitor current results, benchmarks, and targets for your business. So again, looking at this pharmaceutical medicine manufacturer, in the administration center, this example company was very focused on employees and consumers. So with respect to employees, this company places a great emphasis on creating and maintaining an environment that supports their efforts to attract and retain the best talent in the industry. They determined that the three KPIs in this area are employee turnover, employee training, and accident rates. These KPIs are established to meet the criteria guidelines and reflect what the company management feels are critical to their success in this area. Now moving to consumers, this company has placed a great emphasis on research and development to meet the existing and the future needs of consumers. They determined that the three KPIs in this area were the number of clinical trials, the number of major regulatory approvals received, and number of patients benefiting from patient assistance programs. These KPIs are established to meet the criteria guidelines, and they reflect what the company management feels are very critical to their success in this area. Turning to finance, this is an established pharmaceutical and medicine manufacturer. As such, their finance KPIs could be very similar to the example that we used previously. Gross profit, return on capital, and their Z-score. Moving now to contingency planning. This company has placed a great emphasis on tracking their impact on the environment. They determined that the following four KPIs were critical in this area: total energy consumption, greenhouse gas emissions, water usage, and general waste produced. Company management would now identify the specific measures associated with each of these KPIs. They would then identify the current status, the benchmarks, and their targets for each of these KPIs and rigorously monitor each of them. Now let's review. For your KPIs to be effective, they have to be outcomes that can be clearly measured, quantified, and influenced by your company. It will be critical for you to establish benchmarks for your KPIs. Benchmarks represent the experiences of your competitors in the sector and are a valuable comparison for you to compare your current results, and will also influence the targets that you set within your KPIs. Developing good performance indicators will help you to identify and solve issues quickly. Once you have developed KPIs that are aligned with your business goals, and once you've implemented them and are tracking your performance regularly, you will be in a much better position to manage your business. That concludes the module on developing your key performance indicators. Now go out, engage your team in developing your company's key performance indicators. I look forward to our next opportunity together. Best of luck with your business, and keep learning.